Hello, welcome to Working Lunch, the Slow Chambers weekly series where we get to sit down with community leaders and hopefully enter the last hours of our work week getting a little more informed and connected to our community in these challenging times. I'm Jim D'Antona, President and CEO of the Slow Chamber, and today I'll be having a conversation with repair advocate, business leader, and grammar champion, the co-founder and CEO of iFixit, Kyle Wiens. For those of you who aren't familiar, iFixit is an online repair community and parts retailer internationally renowned for its open source repair manuals and product teardowns. They are most famous for allowing you bringing you the parts and service and advice for repairing your iPhone, especially your broken screen, like I just did. But they do way more than that, and they have the parts and tools to repair video game consoles, espresso machines, to vacuums, and more than 10,000 medical device repair manuals. iFixit helps consumers reduce electronic waste by teaching people to repair their own gear. Kyle is a thought leader in the repair space, regularly featured in the likes of Inc. magazine, the Atlantic, Vice, and others as a voice for repair and advocate for policies that empower customers to fix things they already own. On top of all this, Kyle is also the chief software architect at Dazuki, a software company that emerged from iFixit to create easy-to-use, standardized working instructions and procedures. Let me just say, if you haven't heard of or met Kyle before, he's world famous. He travels the world talking to people about the right to repair. I'm so looking forward to talking with Kyle about the work he's doing to collect and make public medical device manuals, his thoughts on the role of business in COVID, his recent advocacy, and get a few recommendations for some upcoming tech purchases. Thank you so much for being here, Kyle. Pleasure to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I'm not traveling the world anymore. I'm right here at home.
And we're so lucky to have you right here at home. That's awesome. As we sit down, kind of one of the first questions we always ask, especially to the point you just made, where are you zooming in from today?
I'm at home in Atascadero. Where I have been for a while on my treadmill desk, just hanging out. Most of our staff is working from home. We have a small core group of people who are in the office running our operations, but the bulk of our team has shifted to work from home for the rest of the year.
Well, now before this, obviously you're a tech company, you're a manufacturing and tech company. Were you kind of doing remote work anyway, or is this something new? The shelter kind of changed that whole feel?
Yeah, we're kind of this hybrid company where we're both manufacturing and distribution, but we're also a software company. And so like of all of the cultures and all the types of organizations there are out there, software companies have had the easiest transition. We did Zoom meetings all the time. Anyway, if we had a call, we generally had someone from our European office or one of our engineers that works remotely on the call. So it really wasn't a dramatic shift. I mean, there's certain ways that it has made management more challenging, but I think for most people, for their day-to-day work, it really has not been a challenge.
That's awesome. Well, right off the bat, kind of to that point, SLO County may soon be on the state's watch list due to the rise in local cases. And we were talking a little earlier, you had some pretty strong feelings on the role of business in helping to limit the spread and the connecting between public and economic health. Share a little bit about what you thought about that.
Well, we have been really proactive from the beginning. We went to work from home well before the state or the county suggested it. We've been really trying to protect our team, and we look at it as like iFixit is a triple bottom line company. We care about making money, but we care more about our people and our impact on society and the environment. And so protecting our team is first and foremost. And I don't want anyone on my team. It hasn't happened yet, knock on wood, and I'm going to continue to fight to keep our people healthy. And so to protect our people, we need to take all of the measures that we can internally, right, with sanitization and distancing and minimizing the number of people that are in the office. But we also need society to step up and do their part, right? This is a transmitted disease. And so as we see the spike in cases, I start to get worried about our ability to operate, right? If you need to go to the grocery store and half the people at the store are infected, that's a risk, right? We're not anywhere close to that now, but we could get there, and the trajectory is not promising. So I think that it's incumbent on all of us, as frustrating as it is. I saw a wonderful video of a 4-year-old yesterday who was so devastated that the ice cream truck was shut down. And she has a very legitimate gripe, right? This is frustrating. It's frustrating for her. It's even more frustrating for the owner of the ice cream truck and their family, right? But we have to find a way to sacrifice together to get to a point where we can beat this thing. And clearly, we're not. The numbers show that we're not doing what we need to be doing right now. So I would hope, for the sake of all of us and for the sake of reopening the economy, that we can all, continue to take the short-term hit for the long-term win of keeping our businesses and our community, our businesses operational and our communities safe.
Well, it's a great point you bring up, because that is, while you're doing similar to the chamber, we're doing everything we can internally. People still have to go outside and do their normal daily life. And if other people aren't following along as a society, if we're not working together on this,
right,
there's not much you can do for the 24/7 that.
Yeah, this is a team sport. And I've been really encouraged. I've seen a lot more masks the last week than I did previously. We need to stop politicizing this. We all just need to buckle down and do what we need to do. Do what they told us in the first place, right? Wear a mask, wash your hands, all the basics, and we'll get through this. In the meantime, we're doing everything that we can to protect our team. Our shipping operations, we have split shifts, which is not fun for anybody, but it means that we have two groups of people that don't interact with each other. In case some of our critical people get sick, it doesn't take out the other group. And that's a operational inefficiency. It's frustrating for people with families because they have to work on weekends where they didn't previously. But that's the extent that we have to go through to maintain business continuity. It would be nice if we could get the numbers down in the county to a point where we didn't have to do that. It would certainly be a lot easier on our team members.
Yeah, and so as as the organization who advocates for business, thank you for what you're doing. Again, we're trying to get that same message out to all of and I think business owners get it, and we just need everybody that, even if it's not your business, follow along on those pieces. So, because one of the things, you've obviously experienced it, the international impacts of COVID, and talking about the supply chains and what it's been like to navigate the kind of COVID related challenges. How's iFixit kind of dealt with that?
Well, there's been a handful of things. One is just what the macro trends are, right? We enable people to maintain and repair their things. And so when the Apple stores are closed and you cannot take your phone into the Apple store to repair it, well, we're the logical backup option. So the traffic to iFixit in terms of people looking for repair solutions, and then our sales have been up. And so we've been very busy, and it's been a challenge. How do we scale? How do we scale our supply chain? How do we scale our team while we're distancing and we're separated? Our team has really stepped up and done a wonderful job with that. At the same time, we've also said, how can we help the broader situation, right? Hospitals are under load like they've never seen. We're finding ventilators in every corner of the earth that we possibly can, refurbing them, putting them back into operation. And so right at the beginning, I said to our team, I said, we got to find a way that we can be part of the solution of this. I'm not just going to be standing on the sidelines waiting for the medical professionals and the scientists to solve this for us. What can we do to help? And the answer came from some of the advocates that we've been working on with Right to Repair, where they said, hey, the hospitals don't necessarily have access to all the information that they need. The service information has been kept away from hospitals increasingly as manufacturers have sought to. They want to take repair services and make that a service that's provided by the manufacturer and take it away from the hospitals. And maybe that works in the best of times, but when you've got hospitals locked down and they're not allowing service technicians to travel, hospitals are on their own. They have to do the work themselves. And so we launched a crash project to set up a medical service manual database. And that's what we've been working on basically since the pandemic started.
So, you said that in there is that hospitals really didn't have the information to figure out how to do it themselves. I'm sure as manufacturers kept their own, as Hyde to make it their own product. But so how did you find it, and how did you get all this uploaded?
Yeah, so some of them do. This is where we like to say that all of the information in order to fix everything out there is out there in the world. It's just not evenly distributed. And so some hospitals had the information. The professionals who do the repairs in the hospitals are biomedical technicians or biomeds. They're kind of the unsung heroes of the hospitals. They live in the basement and they emerge to sort of, grab the equipment that doesn't work. They take it down to the basement, they fix it, they put it back. They're amazing people and they're problem solvers. And so they have this sort of underground network of service manuals where every time they meet another biomed, they swap USB drives and swap service manuals. So we said, well, can we sort of take that from SneakerNet to make it online and put a professional modern database on top of it? And that's what we've done. So if you want to learn how to fix a ventilator, go to iFixit, search for ventilators. It's all ad free. It's all easy to add to. And that has been the goal, is let's build a central common resource that is part of humanity's total cumulative knowledge, rather than something that is scrolled away on a USB drive somewhere.
Well, and to me, one of the most interesting pieces that you're talking about right there is that it's a central resource. Like, people can come to you and get that resource. So you have like 10,000 manuals that are usable in public. How did that come about? And what made you think in a business model, like, I'm going to do this because it will help my overall business?
Yeah, well, to be clear, there is no business model around this medical service database. We have no idea how to make money off of it. We have no plans to make money off of it. It's all free. It's all online. There are no ads. We're paying for the bandwidth and the server cost out of our pockets. It's been a huge amount of our time, processing and curating and creating the information, but I don't have any short or long-term plans to make money on it. Instead, it just seemed like it was something that was needed, and we're good at what iFixit is good at, and this maybe we're unique in the world at this, is we're good at creating these databases that are crowdsourced, collaborative, collections of information around service documentation. That's our skill. There are many other people. You had the Daniels Woodland folks making PPE for the hospitals. That's amazing. They're good at manufacturing. I love it. They're contributing in the way that they know how. So we know what we know how to do, we stepped up and built the resource, and it seems like it's being useful. We're hearing from biomeds every day that it's something that has made their job easier. And so the nice thing is it's software, it's online, it will continue to be a resource, hopefully for a long time to come.
Well, that's interesting. And so, but that also goes to, because not besides, the medical devices, which are, super helpful, especially in this time, you also have resources on vacuums and espresso machines. Yeah. And so how did you, how did you get all of that resourced into your space so that people can come to you?
Yeah, so we started writing our own manuals. This started, Luke and I were at Cal Poly in dorms, bored, saying, what do we do? And I had broke my laptop, and we figured out that we could fix it, but we couldn't find service instructions. This was before YouTube. So we figured it out the hard way, and then we created manuals and we put them online. And so by the time we had graduated, we were the most popular online resource for learning how to fix Apple products. And after that, we said, well, this clearly is a model that works. We'd figured out how to monetize it. We had the information, and then we sold parts and tools alongside. So can we do this for everything? And we opened up iFixit as a wiki so that anyone can add guides. And that really is what's caused it to explode. Anybody in the world can add repair information. If you know how to fix a scooter, and I don't, there's a particular Suzuki moped that I'm convinced everyone in the world who has this Suzuki moped, is from the 60s, is on iFixit, teaching each other, exchanging information. The Atari 2600, I saw a question the other day. People are like actively fixing Atari 2600s. So whatever it is in the world that you have, there are you are sort of drawn together by other people. How many people out there are still using an Atari 2600? It might only be a dozen people in the world are doing this, but they're all on iFixit teaching each other what they know, and that's really cool.
Wow, so that's amazing. So it became just a great connection point, and people just shared all that information up, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to solve problems. We want to help people. This is a way to do both. Repair is really satisfying because you start with something that doesn't work, and you apply a little bit of sweat equity and ingenuity, and maybe asking your friends, and you take it from a place where it didn't do anything to now it works again, and that feels really good.
That's awesome, and I love it. It's for me, kind of gamer.
Tell me about your iPhone. What happened?
Oh, my wife actually dropped her phone and smashed the glass, of course. And then the question is, do you go to iFixit and purchase the $69 kit and fix it yourself? Or do you end up going to Apple and spending $150 to do it? So, and if you drop these things so much, in your hand, and it becomes this really great, which is, I remember, and back in the day, Apple had that that was like on lockdown. It was the only way. You had to like bring it back, and they would like give you a whole new phone. So thankful to the ideas that you brought forward, because that really did help the consumers at large. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, were you able to fix it?
I haven't. It's on its way here.
You got the kit. Okay. Well, we'll have to check it back in and let you know. It's not easy, but if you follow the instructions step by step, you can do it. And we have hundreds of thousands of people every month to do iPhone repairs without any professional training or expertise. And that's the beauty of having instructions, right? As long as you can follow instructions and assemble an IKEA desk, you can fix an iPhone.
Which is amazing. I mean, that's really incredible. And again, when my wife dropped it, she was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do?" And I'm like, "Hey, I probably wouldn't have known this had I not moved to slow, but I know what to do now." So looking forward to it. We'll definitely have to send you a picture of it.
Fantastic.
Or it in a million pieces and I messed it up, which seems to be possible, but that's just me. And so one of those things, talking about, going from that time where you had to bring it back to the people because only Apple fixed it, or you started as an engineer, again, as you were talking about fixing your own computer, you've actually had to go and work on policy. You're an engineer by training, and you had to go work in policy world, where I come out of politics, when it comes to right to repair legislation. How do you think your engineering background kind of shaped your approach to policy?
Yeah, well, so our mission is to teach people how to fix things. And we kept running into these obstacles where we knew how to fix it, but we couldn't enable people to repair it because they didn't have the tool. An example is with your iPhone, if you have the home button on an iPhone, it's easy to swap out the home button if it breaks. I can sell you a new home button. We can get the buttons all day long, but there's a special software tool that we have to have that tells the phone, this is new home button, work. And we don't have that software tool. And so it's impossible for anyone but Apple to perform that repair on an iPhone. And so we realized that we needed to work on legislation, that the next step to getting people to fix things. We tried asking Apple nicely. We tried working through all kinds of business forums to have a conversation with them, and they refused. They institutionally did not want to share the information. So we said, okay, this is time for society to make a decision. And there's precedent for this. We have existing laws for cars that Ford and Honda are required to share service information with local mechanics here in San Luis Obispo about how to fix their cars. If we did not have those right to repair laws for cars, then you would not have an option outside of going to the dealership. And so that is something that society decided. We said, we're going to pass laws. We're going to make sure that auto repairs is a competitive field and not a monopolized field by the manufacturers. So I just looked at this as a problem to solve, just like any other engineering problem of, we need access to this information. The companies will not provide it willingly. And so society is going to have to step up and do it. And then we just started wading in and saying, how can we do this? And I started getting involved in the public policy sphere around 2011, when it became illegal in the US to unlock a cell phone and move it from, say, AT&T to Verizon. So you'd have a perfectly functional cell phone. You'd say, I want to move it to Verizon when I switch carriers, and it was illegal to do it. And so I helped put a coalition of folks together to change that. And it took us a couple years, but we got a law passed and Obama signed it, and it is now legal and actually required for the cell phone manufacturers, or the cell phone telecoms, to share the unlock code so that you can move your phone, which not only is beneficial to you if you want to move your phone from one carrier to another, but also if you're done with your phone and you want to sell it, it increases the resale value of the phone because there's a larger market available for it. So that kind of got us excited. We're like, hey, we identified the problem. We were able to introduce a solution that has been beneficial to most Americans. Can we do the same thing for repair? And that's what I've been doing ever since.
And so the way you've been looks like you have an advocacy organization, repair.org, and the coalition you've built around it. How was it through that kind of work that people started going, oh my gosh, it can actually be done? How did that all come to be?
Yeah, we realized that there was no advocacy organization representing repair shops, and so we helped set one up. Repair.org is the repair association that represents repairers, whether they're iPhone repairers or medical device repairers. So that was interesting and fun, kind of setting up a new organization. And then we've been working at it ever since. We've found areas where we've been able to engage. The federal government has reached out many times. I've testified in front of the Federal Trade Commission. They had a big investigation last summer into what they called nixing the fix. Basically, are there systematic, society-wide, economy-wide obstacles to local repair? You know, there used to be local repair shops in every community. We used to have more camera shops here. We used to have TV repair shops in SLO. There are broader macroeconomic trends that have pushed those companies out of business. It has not been malfeasance on the part of our local shops. It has been, in the case of cameras, 5 years ago, Nikon and Canon both decided that they were just going to stop selling service parts to local camera stores. And that was it. That was the end of camera retail in America. And there was no camera repair trade association to represent them to fight back. And so you had, you know, our small local shops, and they couldn't stand up to the big guys on their own, and so they went away. And I mean, right, that's the point of the SLO Chamber of Commerce can accomplish things that I, as iFixit, cannot accomplish on my own in San Luis Obispo. That together we have more of a voice than we do individually, and so setting up a trade association was a big part of that.
And it's really, I mean, that's what you were talking about before. The one area where this has consistently been, like right to repair, has been in the auto industry, right? Because there was a big enough group.
There's the Auto Aftermarket Association, autocare.org. They're fantastically successful. And when they need to pull together and get something done, as a matter of fact, they have a auto right to repair ballot initiative coming up in Massachusetts this fall. And that's the power of organization. Absolutely.
So one thing I found in kind of looking through some of this was, obviously, I think you found possibly the only issue that environmental advocates and libertarians can agree on. Were there any other unexpected, like, bedfellows who show up to
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, this is funny because, yeah, we've got small business in rural areas. We've got farmers on board with environmentalists working on the same issue, and they don't normally get along. And yeah, I mean, really, how I like to describe right to repair is it's about humans versus corporations. That all humans are on board with the idea that we should be able to fix things. And it's really only a very few corporations that are opposed. It's really just the manufacturers, these very large scale monopolistic manufacturers. And it's crazy, some of them, like Medtronic, one of the biggest medical device manufacturers in the world, they started as a repair organization. They started as an independent repair shop fixing medical equipment. And then over time, they got to the point where they were making their own equipment and everything else. Well, now they're doing everything they can to put these independent medical repair organizations out of business. And that's, I mean, you get to, you know, some point of scale where capitalism starts to fall apart. And that's why we got the libertarians on board. Reason Magazine did a big feature on right to repair. And they're like, look, we want a capitalistic, open, free market for repair services. And what has actually happened is there are overreaching copyright and intellectual property laws that have created this sort of protectionist system that has enabled Medtronic to monopolize the system. We could roll back those copyright laws, or we can introduce other counteracting laws. But you know, from a pure free market perspective, just let us fix our stuff is not a super progressive argument, right? This is something that resonates across everyone on the political spectrum.
That's fabulous. It's so exciting. Again, from me on there aren't a lot of policies you'll get to see where you get people on usual opposite sides working together. So it's fabulous work that you're doing.
Well, and so California's right to repair bill has been introduced in the legislature the last couple of years. It was introduced by Susan Talamantes Eggman, who's a fairly progressive legislator from Stockton. But Jordan Cunningham, our conservative rep, was also, you know, co-sponsoring it and helping push it along. So really, you know, appreciate Jordan's help on it, and we're hopeful that we will get it through. Our state level legislation got derailed by COVID, but we're hoping that it will come back with a vengeance next year.
Well, and it's one of the, you know, it's interesting, from that part of a progressive state we have, we're also home to some of the biggest tech corps there are, and I'm sure you've gotten, I think I would say it seems that you've gotten Apple kicking and screaming. You've pulled them along to at least embrace some of this.
Apple has relaxed things. They really don't like the idea of legislation, so they've tried rolling out some voluntary programs. They just announced this week that their voluntary iPhone repair program is expanding to the EU and Canada, which is wonderful. But they haven't gone far enough. And like, I still can't fix that iPhone home button for you. And so until I can, we're going to keep working on this issue.
Well, so one thing I think it's really great to have your input on is like for people who want to be more thoughtful consumers, what are your kind of top 3 recommendations for
Yeah.
repairable products?
Oh, I have so many recommendations. You can give me a category and I will recommend things. The first thing is whatever you're buying, look at the older version of it and see if you can get replacement parts. So if you're thinking about a new pair of Bluetooth headphones, if you're looking at a vacuum or a refrigerator or whatever it is, look and see. It doesn't necessarily have to do that model, but a couple models back, if you go to the manufacturer's website, do they have a path for you to get replacement parts? In power tools, if you're going to buy a drill from Makita or DeWalt, the answer is yes. Overwhelmingly, all the major large manufacturers you can get parts for. With some other things like vacuums, not necessarily. So do some research. So that's tip number 1 is look to see if you can get spare parts. Tip number 2 is friends don't let friends buy AirPods. Apple's AirPods, Bluetooth headphones, they're the smash hit. Everyone loves them. They work really well. They have great sound quality. They're ergonomically great. They fit in your pocket. They're easy to lose. But the problem with them is that there is no way to replace the battery. And so after about 18 months, your batteries start to degrade. And after 2 years, 2.5 years, they are non-functional. Okay, so that's one thing, that you're buying a product that's only going to work for 2 or 3 years. So you factor that into your expensive purchase price. But the other thing is they cause fires in trash facilities. So if you throw it in the trash, it goes through the trash compactor, it compacts the batteries in them and they blow up. And we have had, I was just talking with the local waste management facility, and they have a couple of trash truck fires a year that are caused by batteries. There was one in Morro Bay where they had to stop and like unload the trash truck onto the street, and the fire department comes and puts it out, right? This is a major issue in our community. They have trash fires on a regular basis. You cannot throw these batteries in the trash. You also cannot recycle AirPods. I went to the largest electronics recycler in California, ERI, over in Fresno. It's where a lot of our e-waste from this area goes. And I took the AirPods and we took it apart with them. And I said, do you want to recycle this? Do you want this in your facility? And they said, no, absolutely not. Do not send us AirPods. So buy all the AirPods you want, but never throw them away and never recycle them.
Wow. Yeah. And it's, that's incredible. That's great information. So there are other earbuds and that actually are repairable and upgradable?
Yeah, so Samsung's Galaxy Buds are a great example. I'm not a Samsung fan across the board, but this is a product that they do that I think is well done. And the Samsung Galaxy Buds, same form factor, same audio quality, everything else, but they just pop apart and you can get the battery out. And so then you can handle the battery in the battery recycling process. You can handle the rest in the electronics recycling process. Get replacement batteries after a while. If you have to have wireless earbuds, or you can go with something that doesn't need battery replacement, like regular headphones that work great and will continue to keep working in 10 or 20 years. So that's my primary recommendation, is stick with the wires. But if you got to go wireless, pick one that has a replaceable battery.
That's a great, that probably the most valuable one right there is you can do it without having to go.
You don't get the fancy stuff. There's this, onward treadmill of new technology. And I'm a technologist. I'm a software engineer. I'm at the bleeding edge of all this. We buy every new gizmo and we take it apart. And I would say the best cell phone that you have that you could possibly get is the one that you already have. The greenest cell phone, the only green cell phone, is the one that's already in your pocket. It is hugely energy intensive to manufacture these things. This cell phone takes over 200 pounds of raw material to manufacture, dug out of the ground. Actually, this photo, this is the rare earth facility out on Highway 15 toward Vegas. It's in California. It's the only rare earth mine in North America, and it's where like the neodymium and the magnet and this either comes from this mine or comes from one of the most polluted places on the planet, a mine in northern China. The process of mining rare earths is very hazardous. It yields radioactive waste. It's bad. We want to do as little mining as we possibly can. And the way that we do that is by hanging on to the products that we've already got.
That's incredible. That's a great point. So just as I can't believe we're already at a half hour here, and it's been so awesome talking to you. One of the things I did want to touch on is, I know you've spoken and written about how important good grammar is when you are hiring. Tell us a little bit about that philosophy and how it works in practice.
Yeah, if you apply for a job at iFixit or Dazuki, you're going to get a grammar test as part of your interview. And it is a pass-fail sort of deal. If you fail the grammar test, you don't make it further in the interview. And that's because we have found that communication is really essential. As we're all shifting to working remotely, written communication is even more essential. We need people that know how to communicate effectively. And are capable of writing well. And yeah, I know English in school maybe wasn't the most fun subject, but it's essential. Communicating with clarity is an essential business practice for the 21st century. And we're a documentation company. We write software, we write documentation, we teach people how to do things. If I write an instruction that is confusing and you break your phone in the process of repairing it, it's my fault. I didn't write clearly enough. And we have to take ownership. And so as a team, as a company, that's something that we take very seriously.
Wow, that is incredibly awesome. So we're at our time, and I want to say thank you for joining us today. But the other thing is I also have to say thank you because Kyle's super nice. We've essentially stolen his staff. We had Dan Ravar of his team.
You stole Dan. We'll get you back for it someday.
And then our board chair is your CFO. So you've been extremely gracious to the Slow Chamber. So we're super thankful for that.
Well, we're very appreciative for your advocacy on behalf of local business.
Thank you, sir. So for the rest of you watching it, thank you so much for eating lunch with us. We'll be taking a break. Actually, we'll be here at the same time, same place next week, but we'll be here with one of our chamber board members, Dr. Jill Stearns, who leads Cuesta College, to talk about online instructions, supporting international and undocumented students, which is a huge deal, and some of the other amazing things going on at Cuesta.
Can I just say, we got to do everything we can to support these international students. This is a crisis. And if there's anything that I can do, if there's anything that any of us can do to support our international students this fall, we got to step up and do it.
That's fabulous. And we may take you up on that because it's a big deal with Cal Poly and Cuesta here doing some great work. And it's important for how we move forward as a society, as an economy, all of it.
Students are heroes. They're amazing. And they can't defend themselves, right? It's up to us to step up and help.
Yep. This is why Kyle is awesome, and hope you enjoyed this, and we're hoping that we appreciate you tuning in, and we hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and thanks for joining us.